So here we go again, and it's now the 7th of April. We're going to be 2 weeks away from the start this time tomorrow, or a little bit further on than that. But we're nearly 2 weeks away, and they've been still making pretty good progress overall. The objective was always to be, if they can make 100 miles a day in the first couple of weeks, they're doing particularly well, because that's the nightmare hardest part, getting down to the trades. And as you know, Renaud is already there, so that's pretty impressive. And lots of things coming into us on WhatsApp from the managers and the entrants and stuff. I'll go through some of that towards the end, but the good news is Christian is underway, and the bad news is Jacob may have lost his self-steering gear or something. So it's all very preliminary notice on that, but he's not sounding very happy. And I can't work out what's going on. He didn't elaborate on it, but we'll talk about it in a minute. So I think we'll just go straight to the tracker, and then we can get that over with and see if anyone's got any questions at the end. You're on the tracker now, and so am I. So here it is, very much a big blue screen. We can't quite fit Gary in, but he's up there just chugging along, only just 1.9 knots. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. This is the big one. Renaud has finally hit 5 degrees. I'm pretty certain he won't deviate from that. He'll ride that 5 degree line all the way through to Marquises, because that's where usually the trades are hanging. They very rarely dip below 5 degrees south, okay, even though there's a bit of fluctuating weather with the El Niños and all that sort of stuff. Generally, the trades are pretty set. So, in fact, I didn't want to pop that. Let's, while we're here and we're talking about that issue, let's have a look and see what's happening. The trade's very unstable here. They haven't rolled through, and they're a bit patchy here as well. So there's not a lot of strength in it, so there could be a few wobbles as we go forward, because this area of indifference wasn't there when we were looking this way about 3-4 days ago. It was pretty much solid trades all the way through, but it's very unstable, probably driven by this big pressure system down here. Cross through Micronesia and the Tuamotus, there's Papeete there. We're actually all going to the Marquises up here, but this is a big hole in the trades. So that's new. And what's causing that over this side? No, it's just an area of instability. So anyway, we've lost our 5 degree mark, but imagine it going across there. Degrees south of the equator. And if I just bounce that through now, and cover my messy desk here, we just bounce it through. Jeepers, there's a big hole still. Over on our side of the fleet, it's not too bad. There's a bit of breeze holding there, but the trades have disappeared. That's very interesting. That whole area, which is, 10 degrees is 600 miles, so there's nearly 1,000 miles of missing trade winds. Anyway, they've got a couple of weeks to get there. Here they come. They're starting to form back up again. So that's not too bad, but it's still a bit light. This is the 9th, 7th, 8th, 9th. In 2 days, there's still not solid breezes here. So that may be a disadvantage for the tail enders like Josh and so on. Depends how quick they can keep up. But it's not as consistent as we were seeing before. It's not bad, and that's enough to keep the boat sailing, that's for sure. Then it comes back again on the 11th. So generally speaking, it looks pretty right. So you just remember that 5 degree line. That's where it is. As they get further across from here, they'll start to come down. But anyway, they'll have to watch that. So no guarantees in life, but it still looks like the trades, and they're just a bit patchy. So here's our guys. We'll just see them. We're already out here. We'll just remind everyone of the currents here. There's no real favourable current going to the west. All of these have turned across current now, coming down, which will be bringing the warm water down and pushing it further down, which could be part of the fun there. Who knows what? But they're not going to get much help. It's just going to blow them south. Often this is angled at sort of northeast to southwest, which gives you a bit of a boost. But like over here, it's starting to go in that direction. But currently that's all north south, north south, north south, which is interesting. You've got to go a bit further down to about 7 degrees and get a bit of a current along this way. But anyway, and while we're on that, if we just check out Gary's a big influence for the current at the moment. He's not going very far, so the current's taking him northwest. That's why he's pointed in that direction. So this little bit of a current is dominating the world of question 2 at the moment. So that's what's happening there. And then the rest of the fleet here, not a lot going. It's all disappeared. You saw what it was yesterday. There was still quite a bit of things happening back here, but now it's all changed again, and there's no real distinct flows of current anywhere there. We might get Renault's not going to get a bit here, but Kerry and excuse me. Excuse me. Lucky you weren't in my room. Sorry about that. So Kerry and Daniel and Pila might get a bit of a hit if they hold that. That's probably 100 miles there or so, a bit of a help, maybe half a knot, 3/4 of a knot. And Renaud won't get that. He's further south than that. So that could help him along. Dan's in no man's land for the current. And then the others, Jacob and Adam, Eric's out of it, but Jacob, Adam and Jasmine have got a bit of a head current. Same too for Josh. Christian's got a bit of a hand. He's happy to see him underway. He's got a bit of a push with the current as well. Now I've got to, excuse me for a minute. Lucky you're not watching. Oh boy. Okay, this is live, unscripted adventure. So let's go back to the wind, and we'll go through each of the performance factors and the storyline. So Christian did a good job. He called in. They took him ashore straight away under the military escort because he didn't clear. They went to the hospital, got the bits. They said, here's what we recommend, bugger off. So they escorted him back to the boat. But he was hesitating leaving with flat batteries and talking to Moss. Moss was suggesting get a few more drugs and stuff. So he went back again. I haven't heard the whole story, but they were suggesting he'd have to clear and enter the country, but I don't think he did because he managed to get ashore, got the extra drugs and bits, and got back on his boat and took off straight away. So that's cool. So he didn't lose much time at all, which is a good thing. And he managed to put 50% in his batteries, which is a good way to start off rather than dead flat. I told the manager, I said, look, it doesn't matter. If he sails out without any power at all, he'll charge it up once he gets going. Just got to manage your output until you top it up. In fact, I'll make a note here. Mimo, we'll talk about electricity when we're doing the questions because there's some interesting comments there. So Christian is doing 3.4 knots and 46 miles in the last 24 hours. Not bad. He's probably in that 24 hours is built in the fact that he stopped. So he's doing okay. Josh down the back here with his undies on his head, looking really attractive, is now doing 3.2 knots, and I'm sure he's taken them off now. Did a 60-mile day. That's pretty cool. Jasmine, 4.6 knots, 72 miles. It's looking good. They're all picking up there. Jacob's definitely slowed down because he might be going under electric autopilot, though. I didn't see it in the picture, but the message we've got from him was that he sent a small video clip about the wind vane, and he had a light shining in, so you couldn't really see much. And all he said was that the autopilot's something's happened to it, broken. He's disassembled it, put it all off into the cockpit, and he's working on the cockpit, but he needs to think about it, so he'll address the issue tomorrow because it's night time and the boat's moving around and things like that. But he's doing still 4 knots, and that's a total of the last 4 hours, obviously. And if we look at the speed of Adam, who's close by, he's going faster than Adam, so maybe he's using electric autopilot. I can't imagine enhanced steering, but you never know. So I don't know what's going on there, but he's got an issue with the wind pilot. Now, there was one chap made a comment on that about, I hope he's got the original rudder and stuff. A lot of you may not be following what the wind vanes are if you're a non-sailor. There are basically 2 types of wind vanes on the boats. Those that are servo pendulum that have a flip-flop vane at the top to activate and a sideways motion, servo pendulum blade in the water that goes up to the surface, travels up the surface to the left or the right, and there is ropes connected to that, which then move the tiller of the ship's rudder, of the 580 rudder. So he's got the 580 rudder, and that's what you call a servo pendulum, same as the South Atlantic. So there's only two types in there, either the South Atlantic or the Wind Pilot. It's a brand. And then most of the others have got hydrovanes, and that uses a different system with an auxiliary rudder. And you've got the option then to get rid of the boat's rudder or use both. We're not going to do that now, but most of them are going with using both rudders, the ship's rudder as well as the hydrovane rudder. So anyway, that's what that was about. So we'll know more tomorrow, I'm sure. 3.9 knots for Adams, 86-mile day. That's 86 against Jacob's 77. So he's is moving a bit better. Did I do Jasmine? I better do it again, just in case I forget. I can't do that. 4.6 knots and 72 miles. Yes, I think I did, but it must have been just before or after I blew my nose. Eric. Now, I've got some notes here from Eric, which I'll read in a minute when I come back. 4.6 knots, having a lovely time, 85-mile day. He'd be happy with that. Very happy. They all seem to have the breeze now, and it's just still flat. Well, when I say flat, there's not a lot of swell there because there's been nothing before, so it's good sailing conditions. I can tell they're all enjoying it as much as they're missing so many different things and contemplating the meaning of life and all that sort of issue. It's pretty good sailing. So Ayrton doing 4.3 knots, 85-mile day. He's making progress. Dan Turk, Canadan, is doing 4.5 knots and a 99-mile day. So he's been in the breeze longer. The other guys, as they come down, they've picked up a bit of residual trade winds going up the top. Not super strong, but they're starting to move. Peeler, 4.8 knots and 97-mile day. And Eggplant Dan, or Holiday Dan, call it as you will, 5.1 knots and 109-mile day. So that's nearly 7, 8, 9. That's 12 miles more. That's 1 knot faster than Peeler. Something happened there. I noticed that on the last couple. So he's gained a bit. Peeler's lost a bit. And Kerry Harris is right on everyone's hammer, keeping him honest, 5.8 knots and 118-mile day. Jeepers. So 118 versus 100, he's pulled out another 9 miles extra on Dan, and a bit more than that. But here comes the hold the suspense, drum roll, brrr, okay, Renaud. 132-mile day. Jeepers. That must have been the potato gratin that supercharged the argument. But there you go, because it's not current, it's just sailing. So he's got into gear, and he's going for it. So he's absolutely in the lead. That means he pulled out on Kerry, for instance. Japers, 2032, 14 miles. It's half a knot difference, and that's what I was seeing. Every time I looked, when I get on the tracker, he's always got a bit more breeze. And so there's obviously this more pressure in the south than there is up the top. Nonetheless, every time I look at this, I think there's not a lot in it. If we, once again, just have a look, when I say there's not a lot in it, I mean they've been at sea for 2 weeks, and it is an around-the-world race, so all is not lost. I was really staggered that Kerry wasn't able to go. Sorry to keep harping on Kerry and Renaud, but they're at each other, and it's just a benchmark thing, I suppose, because you can see Kerry's caught up to Dan, Holiday Dan and Peeler, because he left 12 hours behind them, so he's caught up to them. Now his objective is to try and grab Renaud, but it's not going to be easy, as much as there's a few thousand miles to go. Oh, I've lost it here. I'll just come here, go boom, boom. So Kerry is about that far behind him at the moment, 70 miles, 60 or 70 miles behind. That's 14 hours, so he's lost out from the beginning, but let's see how it goes. So you got some of the chase. It's like something, I was going to say tortoise and the hare, but there's not exactly many tortoises there, but they've got an objective to chase Renaud. He's the chase boat. So that's all a bit of fun, and Renaud knows how to sail. I think Kerry's boat's just as fast. I think they're all doing well. Peeler has shown she can keep up with him, but maybe it comes down to maybe something about the trade winds. So I'm not sure how much that wind is. Renaud will tell us somewhere, but it's looking like it could be 15 to 17, 15, 16 knots or something. It's not into the 20s, but it's over 15. And that, you can crank the boat up then with everything and see how we go. Anyway, Gary. Gary up here is doing 1.9 knots because of the current, probably, and did a 34-mile day. So I think we're going to see slowly Gary fade into the mid-fleet. He hadn't been comparable up to the front fleet, and I would say looking at this now, he's mid-fleet, and let's wait and see where he comes out in about a week. Well, it'll take at least a week or more before he's down with the rest of the pack. Popeye and John are still sitting in Panama. Tomorrow it'll be 2 weeks behind, which I'm sure is frustrating for them, but that's the way it goes. They're doing what they can. So I'm just going to go to the leaderboard, because what this tells us in a strange little way is something to do with the ETAs, just to see now, because they're all pretty much getting into the trade winds, and generally speaking, they should ride the trade winds pretty much all the way to Marquesas. Then they've got the 8 days in Marquesas. Then there should be, and there usually is. In fact, let's look at this. Even now, I'm going to push back and just give you a walkthrough of the course all the way to Fiji. Right. Okay. So Marquesas sits in the trades. You can see even there when there's a big hole in the trades back here. Marquesas is absolutely in the trades. When they go from Marquesas down to Papeete, you can see that's the general direction, and it's all on the port quarter. So it's a fast roaring reach down there, which will be fast. So they'll be in the 100, 110, 120 mile days, and Renaud will be in 130 mile days, blah, blah, blah. So that's zipped straight down. Then they've got 7 days in Papeete. And then the trip to Tonga is kind of an interesting one. Once again, this will be 5 weeks down the track. This is absolutely in the trades, but you can get some quite strange weather in here, quite big seas and strange weather. It's not like the normal trades with, 1 to 2 meter seas and, a constant southeasterly breeze. I've done this leg a few times, and you get tricky stuff, and I've spoken to a lot of people. I know a lot of people have done that, and often this one can be a bit tricky. You can get 35 knots, 40 knots, 3, 4, 5 meter seas kicking around here. You just never know till you're there. But nonetheless, it'll be fast. So the averages will be 100, 110s, maybe 120, and it'll be 132. And then you've got 8 days in Tonga, and then across to Suva. So having said all that, not to Suva, to Vuda Marina. Having said all that, if we're on the leaderboard and we go for now the recent now for VMG, we forget about the total distance because they've got these stopovers yet, but the total number of stopovers, and they haven't used any yet, is 23 days. So based on the VMG for Renaud, if he can manage 5.5 knots, he's going to be there on the 18th of May, and it's January, March, April, May, 31 days. So you've got 13 days there and another 10 days. That's the 23 days. So that's putting him in an ETA of about the 10th of June, which it'd be hard for him, nearly impossible, to make 5.5 knots all the way. So it's targeting him. He'll be about the middle of June, which is about right for the lead boat. If we then go to Dan, Dan's doing 4.6. He's showing an ETA of 27th of May. It's 31, so there's 4. And then that means it's another 19 days. So if we put the days in, if he can manage 4.6, and that's starting to get reasonable, he's going to be arriving, what did we say, 4, and then 23. So that's 19. So about the 19th of June. So 19, 20, 21, 22 of June. So if you're watching, Nikki, he's going to arrive somewhere there, which is about a month before the restart, which is about right. That's where I'm thinking the performance boats will end up being. Now, you look at Peeler's got a particularly bad local time now. She slowed down a bit for the last couple of days. The last day. Part of the reason for that was she sent us a message she missed her phone call, her SoundCloud phone call to Graham yesterday, Graham Cox. The others have done it, and Jane will put them up shortly. Was she had lots of thunderstorms, and her electric autopilot died. She's been using that in the when you want to steer a compass course when you've got a lot of inconsistent wind direction and strength. So now she's just down to her hydrovane, and so she said she was challenged. So that might be why she slowed up a bit. But even still, a 3.9 knot average speed between here and the finish is basically pretty much guaranteed, I'd say, touch wood, unless something dramatic happens. So touch wood, that's me hitting my wooden desk here, that knocking sound. And she's showing the 5th of June plus another 23, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's about the 28th of June, which is nearly a month from the restart. That's all I wanted to look at there. So you can see they're all going to make it for about 4 weeks in Fiji. We look at Dan Turk, 4 knots. Well, that's more than Pila. Eric is on 3.8 knots. Well, that's only just less. So it's I'm pretty confident we are actually going to see everyone for at least a month in Fiji. So that might help your planning. No guarantees though. If you want to be sure, arrive for the last 2 weeks. But I think there's a realistic expectation that most of them will be there for 3 weeks for sure, and probably 4 weeks. And Renaud could be there for 2 months. We don't know. Anyway, that's I think all I can do from there. So that's enough anyway. We'll come back here and say good day. I've got to before I go too far, I've got to read you updates from Eric because he sent me all these updates and one little video ages ago. But anyway, Sun Bear leg 2, east overnight. Hang on, Saturday. I'm finding it really confusing. Oh no, that's a different one. Update Sun Bear day 11 leg 2. Light conditions overnight. Still this morning. Now south of the Galapagos Islands, heading for trade winds. Hello from everyone, Eric. And then update on day 12. I think that was yesterday. End of day 12, leg 2. Finally out of the doldrums, I hope. Now at 2 degrees south latitude. Last night the breeze died just as I needed to pass the southern island, the current dragging me towards it. Anyway, past it now, making good progress. 5 reef sharks were following me yesterday. One had a go at my hand-made lure. Thought I'd trick you there. So he didn't try to bite his hand. He's got a handmade lure, and one of the sharks had a go at it. But it flattened my hooks, so it must have been a big one. So Eric's cool. He's having fun. And we got some great pictures from Jacob, which I put up. He sent me like 7 or 8 videos, and I couldn't put them up, but Jane will put them together. And the one on the thing, but it was interesting when he sent me the gallery of photos, which was only hours before he then sent another one saying, "I've lost my autopilot. The wind pilot's died." He said, "Hi, this is to Jane. Hi, Jane. I got very emotional crossing the line. It was always beyond my dreams, and I still can't believe that I'm actually doing this." And his videos, he's got some great videos, absolutely off his tree. Really excited. Very interesting little clips. So watch out for that. We'll put them up as soon as we can. And of course, everything changed. When you're feeling on a high, all of a sudden, bang, it crashes down. It's probably really quite challenging. Anyway, nonetheless, okay, now I've got to get up here. I can never see the drag down. Bloody hell is it? There it is, I think. Nope, it's not there. I don't know how many people have got Jeepers creepers. I can't. My screen must have gone oversized. And see, John, g'day, John. G'day, Christine. Brian Ferguson. Kerry sailing 0.2 of a nautical mile an hour faster behind 120 miles over the next 22 days. Will Kerry win? Photo finish. Maybe. Did any of them file a sail plan with Peter Mott? No, but they haven't. They wouldn't even know who Peter Mott is. I don't know whether they need to at the moment. They could do later on, but they're looking at all sorts of things, windy and all that sort of stuff. So I don't want to suggest they do that yet. And that's they're happy. So not to the best of my knowledge. I think that's all, but I can't scroll down anymore. No, I think that's all. So, but as I say, I can't scroll down. I can only see the top thing that's there. Okay, that's enough. So one last look. Yeah, no, I cannot get it. It's not showing me anything. All right. So we'll probably see you tomorrow. I'm not sure when because I've got a few things on in the afternoon, but we'll be back tomorrow for another one. We'll see you later. Thank you. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.